Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at the newest Ghost-type Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Houndstone. Houndstone evolves from Greavard, which you can encounter through field research tasks or through 3-star raids. Houndstone is a pure Ghost-type Pokemon with the moveset of Lick, Psychic Fangs, and Shadow Ball. Psychic Fangs are a really nice move to have as a bait move, but being a pure Ghost-type, Houndstone may see some difficulty. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's check out Houndstone in action in the Open Great League. Hopping into the first match, leading Diggersby into Gligar, and we do have Quick Attack on our Diggersby, so this is a pretty solid matchup for us. Opponent is going to save switch into Surfetch'd, and I'm going to respond with Sableye. Surfetch'd, of course, does typically have access to Night Slash and Leaf Blade, although it can run the nuke of Brave Bird. I decided to respect the Brave Bird there. My opponent only ends up going for the Leaf Blade. I'm firing off the Foul Play, opponent committing the shield. They have farmed up a ton of energy here, and I have a tough decision to make. I decide to let this through. It is not the Brave Bird. My opponent will reach one final charge move before they get KO'd, so I will have to go down a shield, which is a bit unfortunate, but I am going to be able to make the return against the Gligar. Opponent is going to send back in the Gligar, and on 1 HP, I make the return, and return will hit for massive damage onto the Gligar. In comes Diggersby, in the back is MEDICHAM, and in comes Houndstone. And I'm not even building up to the Shadow Ball, I'm just going for the Psychic Fangs. I don't need big damage, I just need to lower that defense, and Houndstone absolutely shredding through MEDICHAM. MEDICHAM has a ton of energy here, they go for the Psychic. Houndstone able to tank it and get the farm down. In comes Gligar. Houndstone is going to be firing off the Psychic Fangs into the Gligar. Opponent recognizes that it's over, and they let the move go. Moving into the next match, picking up a pretty decent lead, Diggersby into Umbreon. Considering I have two Ghost types in the back, it's incredibly nice to catch the Umbreon on the lead. I'm farming up a bunch of energy here with the Diggersby, and I'm going to be firing off the Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands is going to connect. Unfortunately, we don't get the debuff, and unfortunately, I missed a couple bubbles there, which is definitely not ideal. They're going to go for Foul Play after Foul Play in this matchup, but again, one of the reasons why I love running Diggersby is it is extremely bulky. So even going against a fellow bulky Pokemon like Umbreon, Diggersby can absolutely hold its own. Looking to overfarm and go for another Scorching Sands. This will be getting them very close to the red, and again, we do not get a debuff. That is very unfortunate. They're going to be firing off a Foul Play. That's going to connect onto the Diggersby. I'm farming up with the Diggersby. Unfortunately, a little bit of a frame drop there, but thankfully, I am still able to throw the Scorching Sands on good timing and get the KO. In comes Shadow Venusaur. I immediately pivot into Sableye. They'll outpace here by a turn, but my opponent doesn't take advantage of that fact. They overfarm, and honestly, that's kind of nice for me, because that's going to allow me to reach a charge move first. That way, they don't get a full sneak, and now I'm in a pretty okay position. They have the back-to-back here, so I'm just going to commit the shield and not click my move. I'm double shielding here because this Shadow Claw damage is extremely valuable. I can put the Venusaur into a range where I can farm down with Houndstone, and then Houndstone, up energy in the zeros, should hopefully do pretty well. Foul Play is going to be shielded by the Venusaur. Venusaur is forced to throw their energy. This Frenzy Plant will be massive overkill, but now in comes Houndstone in the back. They have Ready Steel. Ready Steel needs to make the Zap Cannon, so I farm up to their Zap, switch into the Diggersby, and catch the Zap Cannon onto Diggersby, where it's double resisted. Zap Cannon does nothing. They get the attack drop, but I make it to the Scorching Sands. This is debuff, but it's still super effective damage. That's going to connect. And now I can send back in the Houndstone and go for the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball from Houndstone will secure the KO onto Ready Steel. All that's left is the low health Shadow Venusaur, and that's a good game. We see a bit of an awkward lead in the next match, Diggersby into Shadow A-Slash. Opponent is going to save switch into Gligar, and since I have Quick Attack, this is honestly a fine matchup for Diggersby. I can tank multiple digs from the Gligar, and Hyper Beam should threaten a shield. I'm going to farm up to the Hyper Beam and go for a very risky Scorching Sands bait onto the Gligar, but the Gligar calls the bait! You've got to be kidding me! And now I'm in an absolutely terrible situation. Oh my goodness, I was so confident that they were going to be shielding that because Hyper Beam does massive damage, but the opponent was fine with letting the Gligar go, and now I'm in an absolutely horrendous position. My opponent has so much energy on their Gligar. I commit the shield, it's the dig, I continue to farm with the Sableye. They make it to another charge move. Honestly, I should have just CMP-tied here because this is another dig, and that's just going to get Sableye far too low. I can't farm down as well, and this match started off okay and then has just gone absolutely terribly. In comes the Sand Slash. I'm not going to be able to make the double foul play here. I am 5 energy short of the back-to-back. Foul play will connect, and unfortunately, that's just not going to be enough. They have a move on the Sand Slash since they got the farm down, so I'm going to send in Houndstone, farm up, get the catch onto Diggersby. Maybe there's a chance. If they have like a MEDICHAM in the back, maybe I still have a chance here. Houndstone looking for the farm down in the back. It's Superior, and unfortunately this team is just far too weak to Superior. Superior has a positive matchup against all 3 members of the team. I go for the bait, and at this point there's not really anything I can do other than attempt to call an Aerial Ace, but that's my opponent's loose con, so they're just going to go straight for the Frenzy Plant, and that's game over. We see same leads in the next match, Diggersby into A-Slash, and this time I'm looking for redemption. Opponent is going to save switch into the Shadow Gligar, so it looks to be a very similar team to last game. Last time, I went for the Scorching Sands bait, they called it, and honestly, what can I say? I have a bit of a gambler's fallacy here. If at first you don't succeed, try again, and this time the bait is successful. That's very nice. The unfortunate thing is this is a Shadow Gligar, which means if they go for the dig here, which they do, I actually don't survive that. But now, I can send in the Sableye. Sableye can shield once, and look to farm up a decent amount of energy. So now that I was able to successfully get the bait, I'm in a significantly better situation than last game. I'm going to fire off the foul play into the Gligar. Opponent is going to let that through. Back in comes the Sand Slash. Sand Slash farming up energy, and I'm going for the foul play. Foul play does some very solid chip damage onto the A-Slash. A-Slash is going to let that through. A-Slash farming up. They're going to fire off the charge move here. Drill Run will be very close to KOing. Drill Run barely does not. Sableye on 1 HP makes the foul play. That is absolutely amazing. Foul play will get the KO in the back. Opponent has Pelipper, and I should be in a good spot here with Houndstone. They don't build up to the Hurricane. They're just going triple Weather Ball, but that's fine. I can just let this go. Honestly, I should have just Psychic Fanged right away. I build up to the back-to-back Psychic Fangs. Unfortunately, I end up throwing on less than ideal timing there, and now I'm going for Psychic Fangs number 2. By Psychic Fangsing right away, then the lick damage would have been adding up throughout, but here, this is going to be close. Does the lick that sneaked through get the KO onto the Pelipper? It does, and we still manage to take the win. We see a pretty massive core breaker on the lead in the next match, Diggersby into Golisopod. Even though Diggersby does double resist the Shadow Claws, unfortunately, they hit for super effective damage with Liquidation. So we're seeing some very unfun Pokemon for this team to deal with. They're going to fire off the X-Scissor, and I'm going to return fire with the Foul Play. Foul Play will be shielded by the Golisopod. Golisopod is pretty frail in the Great League, but the thing is, it outputs an unfun amount of damage if you're the opponent. I shield up the X-Scissor. I'm going for the Foul Play. Unfortunately, I'm not going to make a third Foul Play here. Opponent is going to get just about the perfect possible farm down that you could ask for. I die with the Foul Play, and now I'm in a really awkward spot. They have so much energy on this Golisopod. They're firing off the Liquidation. That does massive damage, and guess who's at another Liquidation? Golisopod just running absolutely rampant versus this team. I have a Scorching Sands, and I just have to hope that Houndstone can do well in the back, but it's another Superior. You've got to be kidding me. Saw these things absolutely everywhere, and there was just not really a whole lot that I could do with this team versus Superior. In comes Golbat. Wait, maybe? I'm firing off this super effective Psychic Fangs. That's going to connect, and I make it to another Psychic Fangs, and the question is, can I potentially get a catch? I'm farming up with the Houndstone. Superior over farming massively, and I'm going for the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs into a catch, maybe I have a chance, or if I can potentially land the Scorching Sands, I'm farming up, switching into the Diggersby, but it's when they reach the back-to-back Aerial Aces. So even though I catch a move, it's just not going to matter because they had 2. I was hoping to be able to go for the Scorching Sands there, but by the time the switch clock came up, they had the back-to-back, and we do lose that game. Moving into the next match, leading Diggersby into Gligar. Again, we've seen this matchup a couple times. Quick attack on Diggersby means that this is pretty okay. I'm going to save switch into the Sableye. A lot of the times, Gligar can have a Lickitung in the back, and if so, I need to bait it out. But it's not a Lickitung, it's a Swalot of all things. Oh my goodness, opponent brings some spice. All right, we go for the Foul Play. Swalot is surprisingly bulky, and they have to go for the Ice Beam here if they want the knockout. I'm just going to let this go. Opponent goes for a Sludge Bomb. It's slightly cheaper, but the thing is, it allows the Sableye to hang on, make another foul play, and put them into perfect quick attack farm down range for the Diggersby. Ice Beam would hit for super effective damage. I don't really want to take a super effective move, so I will commit a shield, and I'm farming down. I have a lot of energy here. If my opponent sends in the Gligar, I'm going for the Scorching Sands bait. I was so frustrated when the first opponent called it, so I keep going for the bait, and you know what? After that first time, it starts working. Let's go. Okay, Gligar firing off the dig into the Diggersby. Diggersby, wait a turn there to make sure they don't catch, and go for the Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam will knock Gligar out of the skies in the back. It's Registeel, and I'm going to be able to make it to the Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands will hit for super effective damage here, and now I'm going to throw one Mud Shot, wait a turn, and catch the Focus Blast onto the Ghost-type Houndstone. Let's go. Oh my goodness. And now I'm just going straight for the Psychic Fangs. I'm going for the Psychic Fangs, and I'm going for a full lick farm down with the Houndstone. All right, let's go, Houndstone. I'm going to be committed to shield here. We're going to see Registeel firing off the Zap Cannon into the Houndstone. Houndstone, I could throw the move, but I'm going for the farm down. But Registeel on 1 HP makes the last second Zap Cannon. That will get the KO, but I still have Diggersby in the back, so I am still able to take the win. We see a Nightmare lead in the next match, Diggersby into Serperior, and Serperior is proving to be a continued problem spot for this team. Being triple weak to Serperior is not a fabulous idea. I really like running Diggersby, but on this particular team, having no Serperior answer just puts you in an incredibly uncomfortable position. My opponent lands the Frenzy Plant, they mirror their own Sableye, and now I'm going to send in my Diggersby. With no Mud Shot, I have no way to farm down. My best course of action is just to try and farm up to 100 energy, and then hopefully a Scorching Sands being banked will be useful later on. They're going to be firing off another foul play into the Diggersby. I'm farming up to the back-to-back Scorching Sands, but it ends up being a CMP tie there. Unfortunate miscount. I should have just thrown one sooner, as now my Diggersby is basically at 1 HP with a Scorching Sands, and I don't have an ability to make a Hyper Beam to threaten the Serperior. In comes the Serperior. Serperior doesn't even build up to the Frenzy. They're just going for the Aerial Ace. I'm going to let this go. Let's see what they have in the back, and they have an Alolan Sandslash. And unfortunately, we just get hard countered here. Not a whole lot we can do. I go for the Psychic Fangs. Opponent doesn't even have to shield, even if it is a Shadow Ball. At this point, I just don't have a win con. Sometimes that happens. They're going to go for the Ice Punch. That will get the KO. And I just sit there with the Diggersby and let myself get KO'd. All right, hopping into the final match, we have Defense Deoxys into the Diggersby. We see a bit of an awkward lead in the next match, Diggersby into Pelipper. I'm going to save switch into the Sableye. My opponent farms up to the Hurricane, and they go straight for it. That does massive damage. Opponent now going to send in a Shadow Steelix. Definitely good to bait out the Steelix, as my Diggersby will be able to handle it no problem. I'm going to send in the Diggersby. Opponent farming up energy. They didn't just go for the Breaking Swipe. So I'm going to take advantage of this, go for the Scorching Sands, and get the KO. Back in comes Pelipper. I'm farming up energy with the Diggersby. They're going for the Weather Ball. This will hit for super effective damage, but it will not KO. I've probably definitely used up all my luck when it comes to baiting flying types with Scorching Sands, so I go for the Hyper Beam. It actually lands, and in the back, my opponent has Galarian Stunfisk. And you know what? I'm just going straight for the Psychic Fangs. I'm going to be my most toxic self here. Psychic Fangs, G-Fisk will commit the shield. I tank whatever they throw here. Houndstone has pretty okay bulk. They go for the Earthquake. So you can see I'm close to the red, and with a couple Mud Shots, I am in the red. So Houndstone, I would say, is about average bulk. It's not like amazing bulk, but it's also not awful. And I'm just going, as I mentioned, straight for the Psychic Fangs here. Just debuff more and more and more. I commit the shield. I'm going for yet another Psychic Fangs into the G-Fisk. G-Fisk's health is rapidly diminishing. They're going to commit the shield. G-Fisk cannot get the farm down, and Houndstone is victorious. All in all, Houndstone is a pretty solid Ghost-type Pokemon. I would say its biggest drawback is the fact that there's already quite a few really good Ghost types, so I don't think it's going to see a ton of play in the Open Great League especially, but when it comes to limited metas, like for example the Halloween Cup, or in Ultra League where it has a bit more bulk, I could see it having some very nice anti-meta play. So all in all, a pretty cool Pokemon. I feel like they did a pretty nice job with the moveset. Psychic Fangs and Shadow Ball, it's hard to do much better than that when it comes to charge moves. So overall, a pretty solid Ghost-type Pokemon, and I've got to say, one of my favorite Pokemon designs ever, so I am incredibly happy to have both Greavard and Houndstone in the game at long last. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.